Hello, my name is Dennis Walters. I want to start by saying thank you for taking this time to learn about gifted students and educating yourself on how you can help promote their social, emotional, and academic development. Before we start, I want to establish the goals of this presentation. The first major goal is to educate you, the teacher, on identifying giftedness and understanding the importance of the unique needs of these students and how to address them. And the final major goal is informing you on the methods that you could utilize to help these gifted children thrive in their academic environment. Here, I've set a layout of the presentation and the order of which we will today be learning about gifted children. First, we will be asking ourselves what is giftedness and the importance of being educated on it. Secondly, we will cover common myths that we may have about giftedness and gifted children. Next, we will learn about the various characteristics of a gifted child. We will then delve into the intensities, social emotional needs, and academic necessities. Then we will start addressing academic needs and how to nurture their intrinsic motivation. Once we understand how to intrinsically motivate these children, we will then learn about strategies such as acceleration, differentiation, and autonomy. So to begin this presentation, we should start by asking ourselves, what is giftedness and what makes a person gifted? Definitions vary for giftedness, but we all agree that gifted individuals think and perceive the world in a different way. One definition we may use is by the National Association for Gifted Children that defines these students as individuals that have the capability to perform at higher levels compared to others of the same age, experience, and environment in one or more domains. These children acquire knowledge at a faster pace and seek challenging material. This places them at the top percentile of their age group in areas such as creativity and academic ability. Now that we have a general idea of giftedness, you may be asking yourself, why do we need to be informed on gifted students if they're going to be the smartest or most creative student in my class? Well, just like any student, you as a teacher play a major role in the child's development. You are there to provide the challenging content, motivating the child, and verifying that they are achieving set goals, and positively enforcing social, emotional, and academic development. If you are unaware of giftedness, then negative outcomes such as underachievement, isolation, and emotional difficulties may arise. It is by understanding giftedness, being able to identify these students, and knowing how to implement strategies that we can help these children thrive in our classroom. You may already have some beliefs about giftedness that are actually myths. For example, a common myth is that all kids are gifted or that no kids are gifted. This belief may be formed because being gifted is tied to the assumption that gifted children are better than other students. This connection is false, and instead should be thought of as some individuals show high levels of performance when young and provided the appropriate opportunities. Another myth is that you know what the gifted students experience. Most of us have gone through school and place our experiences and difficulties as a common thing that affects these gifted children, when in fact, gifted students experience school in a different context than when we went through it. There are various difficulties that exist today and in gifted individuals that are unique and that we will cover later in this presentation. Now, we will work on learning the characteristics of gifted children so we can identify these students in our classroom. Before we look at some of these characteristics, you should be aware that every child varies, and that some of these characteristics can overlap and be misinterpreted as disorders such as autism and ADHD. These characteristics fall into 5 categories: intellectual, psychomotor, creativity, sensory, and emotional. Intellectual characteristics can include a persistent intellectual curiosity and a drive to learn. They may be an avid reader and have a large vocabulary. They may love communicating with peers of higher or equal intellectual level and an interest in solving problems and critical thinking. These children may also be very self-critical of their learning process. These gifted children are beyond their same-age peers and know the content without working hard. Now, for the psychomotor characteristics, these children love to move and touch. They may be seen as highly energetic, being spontaneous, impulsive, eager, and spirited. They may nonstop talk, and this is where the misinterpretation of ADHD may be made by some people. Now, in the creative characteristics of gifted children, they may be shown through their ability to fantasize and come up with new creative ways of solving problems. They may prefer independence, commit to self-selected work, and be open to tons of different interests. Now, for the sensory characteristics, these gifted students may experience heightened or under-responsive sensations in touch, smell, and sound. We will go more in depth on this in our next slide on intensities. Finally, the emotional characteristics in gifted students are shown by a strong sense of justice, sensitivity to the feelings of others, and the high expectations of self that lead to frustration and perfectionism. A gifted child with these deep feelings can be easily emotionally hurt and in need of emotional support, which is a vital necessity to gifted children in general. Intensities, also known as overexcitabilities, affect the previously listed categories of characteristics of gifted individuals. An overexcitability is inborn and is the heightened ability to respond to stimuli. For example, a gifted student with a psychomotor overexcitability will be energetic, speak rapidly, and have a need for action. Remember that this has the potential to be misinterpreted as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Another example for a sense overexcitability can be displayed in multiple ways. The child may appreciate music, various smells, and sights. However, they could also be overstimulated and thus it becomes uncomfortable. An example may be a loud environment causing the gifted child to cover his or her ears, scream, or display discomfort in a way that requires you as a teacher to accommodate his or her needs. A strategy here is to limit the known intense stimuli and provide comfort. This can be in ways of reducing the sound in the environment, providing noise-canceling headphones, or by placing the child in a quieter area to relax. If it were to be a continuous problem in the classroom, then you can recommend counseling to the gifted student. All children have needs that you as a teacher are striving to fulfill. Previously, we learned that gifted children seek challenging material. This is one of the necessities that you should always acknowledge if you have a gifted student in your class. Without this, boredom and underachievement follow, and soon they may find your classroom as a miserable place to be. Besides a challenge, they also need to socialize with like-minded peers. As a teacher, a gifted student may prefer to conversate with you instead of his or her peers. This may be because the gifted student is being seen as different by his peers, which can lead to isolation. It is vital that you acknowledge this need of socializing and help the gifted student find peers with similar interests. Have you ever had an interest in something so much that it motivated you to learn about it? This is common in gifted students, and it's the intrinsic motivation to learn that allows them to be persistent and enjoy tasks. As a teacher, you should be less controlling of the assignments for your gifted students and instead provide autonomy. You can provide ideas of interesting ways that the gifted student can learn from the subject being taught and see how the gifted child challenges him or herself to learn. If you were to keep being controlling and not allow the gifted student to learn how they prefer to, then you may diminish his or her intrinsic motivation to work on the assignment. There are various ways that you as a teacher can assist a gifted child in their development. Some proven methods we are going to discuss are differentiating the content and curriculum, accelerating their learning process, providing autonomy, and assigning creative critical thinking projects. As a teacher, you are in control of how the content is taught and in what order. When having a gifted student in your class, you should structure lesson plans for them differently. This can mean asking them to provide a rationale for their answer and assigning extra content that goes more in depth. Be aware of the student's preferred learning style and accommodate material accordingly. This helps meet the academic necessity of being challenged. If you are aware that the gifted student is far beyond the current course level, you are in the position to recommend acceleration. This should be done through writing a recommendation for the student to skip a grade and conversing with his or her parents. This accelerated progression is known to benefit the gifted student academically and socially, but be aware of skipping a grade at the entry of a new school, such as skipping the first grade of middle school or high school. This is known to be a problem with creating peer relationships. Since we are aware that gifted children prefer challenging material to learn, then consider assigning a critical thinking project on the current subject being taught. Remember to not be strict and on setting the rules for this and allow for creativity. You can then let the gifted student share such project with the class to provide an extra learning opportunity. The autonomy of the project will intrinsically motivate the student to conduct research and learn on their own time.